The sound of running water drew me to the kitchen. My son stood at the sink, sleeves rolled up, scrubbing plates while voices echoed from the living room. Laughter. Children's laughter. The smell of frosting lingered in the air, thick and sweet, but he hadn't tasted any. I froze at the threshold, watching his small hands tremble under the weight of a plate nearly as big as his chest. He didn't complain, didn't look up. Behind me, her voice sliced through the silence. "His blood is dirty," his grandmother said, as if announcing the weather. "He's born to do the dishes." The words hit harder than any battlefield explosion. My son flinched, but he didn't stop washing. He'd heard it before, enough times that it carved itself into him. I walked in, pulled him away, and dried his hands myself. He stared at the floor, ashamed of a shame that was never his to carry. I didn't speak, not to her, not to anyone. I packed his small bag, slung it over my shoulder, and we walked out into the night. Silence was my weapon, but silence, I knew, was only the beginning. At home he fell asleep quickly, exhaustion drowning him faster than comfort could. I watched his chest rise and fall, each breath too fragile for what had been laid upon him. Dirty blood. The phrase gnawed at me. It wasn't just cruelty, it was inheritance. Something whispered long before him, long before me. My wife, their daughter, never stopped it. She had sat in that house countless times while her son was made to serve, humiliated, diminished, and she stayed silent. That was the betrayal. Not infidelity, not absence, but complicity. I replayed years in my mind. Family dinners where she laughed at her mother's sharp comments. Holidays where my son disappeared into the kitchen while the other cousins played. Every silence she gave them was a permission slip. I had been blind, or maybe I had wanted to be. The truth doesn't always come in the form of a blow. It seeps in slowly until you realize you've already been drowning. And now I knew. I didn't confront her, not yet. Confrontation is wasted on the unprepared. Instead, I began to watch. Patterns revealed themselves. Phone calls late at night, her voice hushed, deferential. Her mother's voice on the other end, sharp and commanding. I checked statements, saw the transfers. Small amounts, regular, all to her parents. Blood money dressed as support. I opened drawers when she wasn't home, found letters, found the words, "Keep him in line," scrawled in her mother's handwriting, sentences underlined as if my son were livestock instead of a boy. My chest burned with rage, but my face stayed calm. In public, I smiled. At home, I nodded. I let her think I was oblivious, distracted. Meanwhile, I prepared. Quietly gathering every record, every note, every insult written in ink, I documented it all, not for me, but for him. For the day he would ask me why I stayed so quiet. The truth would be waiting. The final piece came unexpectedly, a school form, parent contact sheet. Under medical notes, someone had scribbled maternal family history, unclean bloodline. Unclean. They had poisoned not just my son's days, but his records, his future. They wanted the world to see him the way they did. Less than, other, disposable. That night, I placed the stack of evidence on the dining table. Bank records, letters, the school note. My wife entered, weary, unsuspecting. She glanced at the papers, her face paling as recognition dawned. I asked her one question. My voice was low, controlled. Why? Her lips trembled. "It's just tradition. It's how they—" No. I slid the papers toward her. She stared at them, tears forming, but I didn't move to comfort her. She wasn't crying for him. She was crying for herself. The silence stretched until it broke her. I had already prepared the next step. Legal papers. Custody, separation, full control. Her access severed, her ties to my son reduced to visitation, under supervision, if at all. I placed them beside the evidence. Her voice cracked. "You can't do this." I already did. She reached for me, desperate. I pulled away. Not in anger, but in finality. "You stood by while they stripped him of his dignity," I said, my voice cold. "You let them call him dirty while you stayed clean. That ends tonight." Her sobs filled the room, but to me they were background noise. I wasn't here for her. I was here for him. I carried my son's bag to the door the next morning. He blinked awake, confused, then smiled when he saw I was ready to take him with me. No explanations, no drama, just forward. As we walked to the car, I felt the weight slide off. Not the burden of betrayal, but the illusion that had kept me tethered. Some truths don't need to be shouted. Some revenges don't need fire. Sometimes the most devastating strike is the quiet removal of presence. Her family had called his blood dirty. I made sure they would never touch it again. And as I drove away, my son's small hand in mine, I realized something sharp, final, undeniable. They thought his blood was dirty, but it was theirs that was poisoned. Final line, and I left them to choke on their own venom.